Hello everyone, I'm Andy, welcome to the channel. Today I'll show you the exact prompts I use to get these cool spacecraft designs in Midjourney AI. So stick around for that. But first I want to talk to you about how I've been using Midjourney to revive an old passion project of mine. A comic strip that I created 11 years ago called Space Trash. Space Trash was a sci-fi comic about two misfit aliens, Jaws and Krell, who live by their wits and hunt for wrecked spacecraft to strip of their valuable technology. It was sort of like Steptoe and Son in space. Or Sanford and Son in space if you're American. Anyway, Space Trash was purely a labour of love. I didn't really expect to get much return on the time investment, but what I didn't realise was I unwittingly created a monster. I put a lot of work into Space Trash. Here are a small selection of my rough sketches, layouts and character designs. I imposed a lot of rules on myself during the planning phase of the comic. Those rules I thought would set it up for success, but actually they just speeded up its inevitable demise. These were some of the rules I decided to stick to. In the first instance, Space Trash was going to be published as a webcomic, so it needed to look good on a computer screen. That meant it had to be in landscape format, a bit like a short-form newspaper-style strip. Like a newspaper strip, each one would need to end on some sort of a gag or a cliffhanger. My plan was that two short strips could then be stacked on top of each other to make long pages for the graphic novel, which would ultimately end up telling a more complex, long-form story. From a design point of view, I wanted it to look good in colour, but also read well in black and white, so that a lower-priced black and white print version could also be made. I decided to do the whole thing in Adobe Illustrator, because the vector graphics format can be scaled to any size without loss of quality. Adobe Illustrator is a great app, but for me it doesn't really lend itself to experimentation and free expression. Things went fine at first. Every episode was eagerly awaited by my fan. But the pressure to keep up the schedule and the quality while sticking to all my other self-imposed rules soon became overwhelming. My focus and strength has always been character design. I found it tough creating environments and props to a standard that I was happy with, and the quality started to deteriorate as I struggled to hit my weekly deadline. To cut a long story short, after just 10 strips, just when I'd set the stage for my characters to embark on their first major adventure, I just ran out of steam. So I put the project on the shelf and focused on other things. Then last year, Midjourney hit. As I said, I always found designing props to be a struggle. One of the best pieces of advice I ever received was to think of props and environments in the same way you think of characters in your story. You should try and give them some personality and apply the same sort of visual aesthetic as you would to an actual character. One thing that Space Trash has a lot of is spacecraft. I've never really enjoyed drawing vehicles that much, and how do you give a spacecraft character anyway? Well, a trick I learned is to find organic things that already look a bit like the thing you're trying to design and base your designs on them. Bugs, fish, and other living creatures are perfect for this. In the end, I settled for a design based on the general shape of a beetle. Beetles forage through dirt and crap for food, a bit like Jaws and Krell. You have to forage for wrecked spaceships to make a living. I still quite like the design I came up with, but let's see what Midjourney can do. Now let's say I wanted to create a really mean looking ship that a warlike alien race might use. I asked Midjourney to create me a spacecraft based on a scorpion. These spiky scorpion spacecraft are absolutely perfect for the bad guys in my story. If I could just turn these into 3D models and place them in my strip, it would save me a lot of time. So that's something I'm going to be looking into. Feel free to steal and adapt these prompts for spacecraft of your own. So what does the future hold for my Space Trash project? With Midjourney AI doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me, I could potentially bring the project back to life. Midjourney's helping me overcome roadblocks and streamlining the creative process. My excitement for the project has definitely been rekindled, and it's got me thinking about how I can improve the story and designs. The future's full of possibilities. I mean, why stop at a comic strip? Maybe it could be an animated movie now. But before I go, it's time for a little thing I like to call
Stuff I was doing in Midjourney when I should have been working.